David Beckham, Senor Posh. He has returned to the Galaxy, but does the club need him?
I think they're a legitimate MLS Cup contender with him on the field.
Very analytical. He's a great player. They need Posh.
They need Posh. Well, we're going to be doing some experiments of our own next on Extra Time. Hey everybody, welcome to Extra Time. I'm your host Greg Lawless alongside Shep Messing and Jason, the producer, as always. Act 1 of Extra Time, hey now, you're an all-star. The AllStar Reserves came out this week, and we're going to start with the commissioner's picks. Kyle Beckerman and Javier Morales from Real Salt Lake. Good picks or no?
I think Morales is maybe deserving, I guess you would say. He's not had the stats that he had last year when he got looked over for the awards, but you also have to remember that he was putting Yurimov Sisian through for the first half of the season, and Sisian couldn't hit the...
He should have had 27 assists.
Right.
Yeah, I think these are two great picks by Don Garber. Kyle Beckerman, he's been wonderful. Yep. Deep in the midfield, he's got that vision. He could win the ball. He could spray it around. He's shown the ability to get forward. So terrific picks.
And let's remember that none of the Real Salt Lake players were in the first 11 that were picked. So it's good to have some of the home team guys out there as well. Now, the rest of the reserves, and we should remind you that these are not necessarily the reserves. The first 11 were picked last week, which is also not necessarily the starters, right? So here are the rest of the picks from Dominic Kinnear. Pat Onstad of the Houston Dynamo in goal. Defender John Kennedy Hurtado. The midfielders Brad Davis, Davy Arnaud, and a striker Brian Ching, as well as Freddie Montero, the striker from Seattle, coming in to replace the injured Guillermo Barros Schelotto. Number one, Shep, these are good picks, obviously. I mean, there's some good players in there. All of them are deserving. Are there any players you think that maybe aren't there?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that all of those picks by Dominic Kinnear, they belong on the All-Star team. Having said that, you always overlook somebody. Can't argue against Pat Onstad, but I would love to see Donovan Ricketts. I think Donovan Ricketts, this is an all-star year for him with the Galaxy.
Right. And Jason, what do you think? I mean, any guys that really stick out to you?
I actually agree with that. It's unfortunate that you only have 2 spots for goalkeepers because there's 3 guys definitely deserving it in terms of Ricketts. I would throw out Marco Papa as a potential guy who's having a phenomenal season. Frankie Hayduk's played a pretty good season. So
I got some guys. I would think that Omar Cummings from Colorado, who's had a very good season so far, he deserves a look. Maybe Kai Kamara from Houston. He's got 4 goals in the season, 3 of them game winners, and that brings up something. Looking at last year's All-Star game, I spoke to New England coach Steve Nicol, and there were some names on that team that he picked that seemed a little odd. Christian Gomez hadn't been playing well for Colorado, and yet he called him in. Jonathan Bornstein hadn't played many games, but Nicol called him in, and I asked him why, and he said, I've picked a team that I think will win the game, as opposed to rewarding players. The team that Kinnear has picked this year, they're playing against Everton, a very good EPL team. Is this a team that can win this game?
Well, first of all, it is a team that can win the game. And I think as a coach, you have to do a little bit of both. It is an all-star game, but I'm sure Dominic Kinnear, like Stevie Nicol last year, picked the team that he thinks can win the game. Having said that, if you're going to win the game, maybe I would have had Mastroeni a little bit more physical play in the midfield, take nothing away from Brad Davis, but they're going to, I think, have a challenge against Everton defending in the midfield. Dominic Kinnear, with these selections, he's out to win the game.
And against Everton, I mean, the MLS All-Stars have done well against European competition.
Always.
Yeah, but I think the other thing about it is Dominic knows what kind of... This is a showcase game. Yeah. Yes, he wants to win the game, but he wants to get the players out there that the fans want to see as well.
True.
And when you say, does he think this team can win? Look at all the Dynamo players who are on the team. He's got his guys there, the guys that he trusts.
Right. And the Dynamo are in first place in the West for the best record in the league as well. So that's something huge. Now, a team out in the West that's starting to move, the Los Angeles Galaxy. David Beckham made his return last week against the New York Red Bulls. They ended up with a 3-1 win. The man of the match, though, of course, was Landon Donovan. He was on fire all 90 minutes. Also, they got another goal from Alecko Eskandarian. That's 2 goals in 3 games for the newcomer in Los Angeles. LA, 4 straight wins, 1 goal against. I mean, they look like a totally different team right now.
I've been touting the LA Galaxy all year because Bruce Arena...
Nah, you have not.
Always. I said they started at the back with Donovan Ricketts and solidified the defense, stopped giving up goals. this is wonderful now.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think having Beckham play where he has been playing for Bruce Arena centrally, he's not going to be exposed for speed out wide on the flank. So Beckham sitting centrally deep. You've got Aleko Eskandarian. To me, that was the greatest pickup because now you could bring Landon Donovan back into the midfield, Buttle and Aleko up top. They look very good.
Yeah, what they have is smart players in the attack when you have Donovan and Buttle and Aleko Eskandarian. So now you're putting Beckham in the center of the midfield, which also keeps him closer to Donovan, easier for 1-2s coming out of the midfield for Landon. I think what we said they needed, we said they organized the back. What they needed was a spark going forward, and this has really shown it.
Well, we got an email this week actually asking us, what do you think could derail this Los Angeles Galaxy team? Jason, you almost feel as if they are still a team that could go down to Dallas or go into Real Salt Lake and lose 4-0. What could really derail this team?
I think the issues that they have are potential age and injury. I mean, they have some guys. Todd Donovan's a guy who's gotten injured before. Buttle, who's gotten injured. They have Berhalter, who's kind of getting up there in age. So, so you wonder if they do have some downfalls. But I'll remind you that Sean Franklin is
good point.
He's hurt, but he will be back by the end of the season. That's a guy who can fill in the center of defense, outright, wherever they need him. So that's a big spark for them.
Yeah, that's a good point about Sean Franklin because if I see any weakness, it's still maybe a lack of speed in the back. You have Berhalter, Omar Gonzalez. De La Garza, really a new player, a young player out wide right. Donovan's done a great job on the left, but for me, still a little bit of concern given the age in the central part of the defense.
Well, the Galaxy are up to 3rd place in the West, position they haven't been in a long time, isn't it? Bruce Arena doing very well, and Landon Donovan will be an All-Star next week at the All-Star Game. And speaking of the All-Star Game, we, from Extra Time, will be out in Salt Lake City, and we'll be doing a 90-minute pre-game show live here on MLSnet.com, so be sure to join us for that. Tomorrow on Act 2 of Extra Time, we're going to be looking at the East domination over the weekend.